The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Napick and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Napick.
Welcome to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. My name is John Bramblett, and I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Partner Solutions at Stewart Insurance, as well as a licensed insurance advisor. More importantly, along with our producer, Will Milburn, we are here today pinch hitting for Bill Napick as a host for this week's Real Estate Matters. We have an excellent show for you, so let's get started. Our first guest today is Jesse Burton. Jesse Burton is a co-founder and managing partner of Get Realty. Welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, John. I appreciate it.
So nice to have you. Let's kind of begin at the beginning.
Okay.
So share with us a bit about your background and how you arrived here today. You've got kind of an interesting path that brought you to real estate.
Yes, I do. I actually got into the industry in the worst case possible. I first joined as a foreclosure counselor. And so a lot of people don't know that about me. That's in the industry that my colleagues don't know that. I took on a permanent job. I was getting ready to get married at the time, and I needed some benefits. And so the job that was offered to me at the time was a foreclosure counselor with a loan servicing company in town. Did that only for about 6 months because it was highly stressful. And so from there, I went on to become a loan officer, and then after a loan officer, I became a realtor in 2007.
Well, let's back up even a little farther from that. So you went to school at Texas Southern, correct?
Correct.
But you studied engineering, correct?
Yes, I did.
So what got you from the analytical world of engineering to the sales and marketing, people-related world of real estate?
Well, I've always been around people while attending Texas Southern University and studying environmental engineering technology. I was actually a banker. So I was always called the engineering banker. I remember going on my first intern, and the president of the company was Hunt Engineering, environment engineering. And I would come in there with my suit on, and he seen my resume, and he always called me the banking engineer. And so I love being around people. I loved customer service, and that's what my passion was. And so kind of stuck with that. I realized that engineering was kind of pulling away from me of the person who I really was. And those guys got some really big egos. The
engineers.
So, engineers. So
because we know that realtors don't.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
So we were banking and we were engineering. We did the foreclosure work. What was it, the final kind of catalyst that kicked you on into being a realtor and now having your own firm?
Well, actually, I was working for an energy company. I'm going to go back a little bit and tell you how I really ended up in this position. I was working as a enrollment and on the energy side, one of the big energy companies in town. And it was temporary. So I left my permanent position as a foreclosure counselor to go work as a enrollment for the energy company so I could be close to home. My wife was expecting our first son at the time.
Okay.
And so I did that for about maybe 3 to 4 months, and I got home one afternoon, and there was a little dot. That's back when we had these landlines at home, right? And I had this dot showing that I had a recording, and the recording told me that I wasn't needed the next day. My assignment ended. And so at that time, I had to sit still and really pray. I remember sitting at my fireplace and really kind of thinking about what was next. And talked to one of my friends who was a realtor at the time, and he said, "Jesse, you know math. Once you look into doing loans." And so that's how that part started. And then, so I was a loan officer for about a year. I seen what the industry was doing. I seen all these couples and I just seen it. I loved it. And so I went to tell my wife, hey, why don't you get your real estate license? And so I ended up getting my license, trying to help my wife get hers at the time. So that's how it all started.
So banking, engineering, loans, now real estate. You're also now an author.
Yes, I
So
am.
tell us a little bit about your ebook.
So my ebook is entitled How to Fish, which is very catchy, and it comes from the old proverb. I always like to tell individuals that if you know how to fish, you don't ask for fish, but if you know how to fish, you can eat forever. If you wait on somebody to give it to you, you're only going to eat for a day. And so that's how the title of the book was has came into place. This actually all came to me back in 2017 when I was actually running some ads and setting up a system, creating something. I had a gentleman help me out, a guy who's known for marketing. And a lot of times these guys, they know how to build a car, but they don't know how to get it to move. And so I had this person build me a vehicle of what I wanted. And so I put the engine together. He didn't necessarily know how to get it going. And one day I created this video sitting in the office with my phone, had the little tripod sitting in front of me, and created an introductory video. And I told these home buyers, if you like to avoid any mistakes, get these 5 tips, receive these 5 tips. And I didn't know that thing would blow up and have over 50,000 views. And so it started, it created this huge pipeline. And so that was 2017. Fast forward to 2020, COVID happened. And so I had to pivot. I knew that we were going to go into an online type service. And so the first thing I did, I went out to the store. I went out and started buying these webcams, and I already had a ring light, but I bought another ring light for the office. Had this little speaker to where you can actually hear me, actually a microphone. And what we did, we set up a home buying class. And we knew that class was only going to be virtual. And so after setting up that class, I did it at a weird time. I'm used to doing classes on the weekends, right? But I did this particular class on a Tuesday. I believe it was a Tuesday afternoon. Wasn't that many in attendance at all. So you would think that class would have, that was considered a failure. But no, I still had an audience because there was one body that was on that class online. But I recorded that class, and I was able to reuse that class over. And so right after we ended that session, I created a video right there at my desk when people thought that video was, I had cameramen and all around me. But no, I created this introductory video and called it How to Buy a Home in Today's Economy. And I recorded it, shot it. It took me several takes to the point where I got tired of taking it starting over and over again. So I started to read my little notes down to the left of me. And once I shot that, I recorded, I created an ad with it, and I couldn't believe what was happening. It was starting. And so within 3 or 4 days, I had 47 leads. I only spent like $170 at the time, and I got 47 leads, and I was able to close over $3 million worth of business in that 30-day time frame from just that one class.
So the theme behind How to Fish is providing some guidance on kind of replicating the process that you used that generated those 47 leads and the $3 million in home sales.
Yes, exactly what it is. We watched yesterday was football Sunday, and so when you go into these games, these coaches, they have playbooks, and so what I've actually done, I created a playbook for those who wanted to kind of follow this game plan and receive the same results or even more. It's totally up to the person's budget on how much you want to spend. Like I said, my initial spending amount was $170, and I reached over almost 7,000 individuals. And like I said, I've received at that time was 42 leads that I got out of there. And these were great. This is the thing. We're in the market now where people need to be educated. And it's not just about showing pictures of homes and showing your closings. Individuals want to know what it took to get to that end. You know, they want to know how to get the train on the track and get that train to the closing table. And so this is an actual book to help individuals build up their pipeline, and not just build their pipeline, but also close bills and be able to leave a legacy for their family.
So I'm listening to the show and I've got an interest, but maybe I'm not a realtor. I just like real estate, but I am in a, we're all salespeople.
Right.
Regardless of what you do, we're all a salesperson. Would the tips that you provide in the book be helpful for somebody that's not in the real estate world?
Yes, it is. It's very helpful. Anyone who's an actual teacher, it doesn't matter what course you're teaching. If you want to reach a certain audience, you can take this book and get the same results.
So whether I'm a realtor or a business development officer for an insurance firm, or I'm an executive with a nonprofit, it can help me.
This book's for anybody. This book is not just for realtors and loan officers, insurance agents, credit repair consultants, teachers, period. If you have a course that you want to teach and, you're tired of getting up on Saturday mornings and your classes are empty, well, set up this class and do it from either your home office or your office, record it, and then follow the step-by-step guide that I'm giving you here, because now you're not just reaching your audience who you can see in your local area, but you're able to reach people that are in other countries as well. So
when you're setting this up and teaching us, you'll get into specifics like how long it should be, what's too long, what's too short, how to structure it, what's the best way to deliver content.
Yes, exactly. We give all that information. We even offer some follow-up emails. If a lot of times you have to date the prospects of your audience,
sure,
and everybody doesn't know who you are right away, and so you have to cultivate that relationship. And so some of my emails that are set up after the course helps build that relationships. You got to date your clients, and so this is the way that we start the dating process.
So I'm ready to order. How do I get the ebook?
Sure, John. You ready to order?
I'm ready to order.
Hey, right now you can order. You can order it right now at howtofishebook.com.
Howtofishebook.com,
and it will take you right to the place you're going to see this bald head.
Okay.
As soon as that website comes up, and you'll be able to place your order.
And I'm so excited that I decided I want to do business with Get Realty. How do I get a hold of you?
Well, I'm all over social media. My name is Jesse Burton. I use the L, Jesse L. Burton. You can find me on Instagram at Jesse L. Burton. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, Jesse L. Burton. I'm very easy to find.
We've been visiting with Jesse Burton, the co-founder and managing partner of Get Realty. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Jim. I'm very excited to be here.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827, stewartinsurance.com. That's stewartinsurance.com, or call 866-798-2827.
Our next guest is Terry Guerra. Terry is the president of the Nancy Owens Foundation. Welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you for having me.
So, Nancy Owens Foundation has been around for about 21 years.
21 years.
And if I recall, you were one of the founding members.
I was part of that group, and it was great because Nancy Owens was a real estate icon, wonderful human being, and she passed after her third bout of breast cancer, and she fought it hard. And a group of her friends got together and wanted to know what we could do to fulfill her dream. And her dream was to one day find a cure for breast cancer. And thus the Nancy Owens Breast Cancer Foundation was created. And 21 years later, here we are.
So as president of the foundation, what is your role?
I am the chairman and president of the board. And so I organize my team, and I have a great team around me. And we put together fun events to raise as much money as possible. We've done Fashion for the Cure, Swing for the Cure, although we lost our golf person, so we need another committee person that knows golf. We had Pink and Blue Jean Day and just a lot of fun events that we put together to raise money. So we organized that. We're 100% volunteer driven, so we don't have a staff of people behind us. We just come up with the ideas and put it all together.
But the thing that I guess is, to me, that's really unique about what the foundation does or how you operate is you very much narrow where those funds that you raise go to. Could you share us a little bit about that?
Exactly. So currently we follow 3 research projects. And in order to qualify for the research projects, we want to make sure that all our money that we're giving to the projects go to the doctors and to the research project, not to the hospitals to cover administrative costs or any of that. And so we hold these doctors accountable, and we follow them, and we get updates from the lab. We go and visit them, and we find out what they're doing and how their progress is making towards the fight against breast cancer. For instance, we fund a research project at Baylor, the Lester and C. Smith Breast Center, and they are working on a project right now on the reoccurrence of breast cancer and how the cells live dormant in bones and how do they go about combating that. MD Anderson is working on a vaccine for the prevention of breast cancer. And Methodist, the Department of Nanomedicine, is developing a nano device, and it is just tiny, and it has targeted medicine in this device that's planted inside the tumor. So the medication gets sent to the tumor and not to the entire body. And it's consistent, so you don't have to go in every 3-4 weeks for chemotherapy. That project is 2 years away from human trials. That is very exciting.
So not only is the foundation very deliberate in where the money goes, but also you continue and maintain a relationship with that research group.
Absolutely. We have been with Baylor the longest, and we have a great relationship with them. MD Anderson is another wonderful partner, and we collaborate with them on different ideas and how to raise funds and things like that. And then Methodist, Dr. Gratoni, has just been an amazing person to work with. So
to date, over the last 21 years, how much money has the Nancy Owens Foundation raised?
We have raised well over $2.2 million, and my goal is to get to that $3 million mark.
So I was going to ask you that. So now that you're Madam Chairperson,
yes,
President, and I've had the good fortune of knowing some of the members of your board, so I know that you've got a high-powered, very committed and dedicated board. What are some of the goals that you have for your tenure?
Well, when I was named chairperson, it was in 2020, and I was so excited. I had these big grandiose ideas. We're going to have this fabulous luncheon. We're going to do all these events, and then COVID. So COVID really took a bite out of us, and we really had to reevaluate where we were going to go from here and how we were going to raise money for these research projects, because that was our goal. And we did. We created Fashion for the Cure and figured out a way to do it socially distanced, and it was a huge success. So we felt really good about 2020. 2021, new year, we're going to have our lunch and we're going to have all our events, and then the second round of COVID hit. And when several different conferences around Houston were canceling theirs, we were going, okay, if the NRA is going to cancel, I don't know how we can social distance. Sure. So we had to make the big decision and cancel our luncheon again. Again, we still raised over $90,000 in 2021. So we took those COVID years, and something that I'm very proud of, we reorganized the foundation. We got very focused, very organized. We got accredited with the Better Business Bureau, Charity Navigator, and Give.org as an accredited charity. And so it's really great, and it helps us raise money because you could look on the Better Business Bureau and find us, or Charity Navigator or Give.org. So it legitimizes our foundation and helps us to raise more money. And that is our goal.
Well, I think too with kind of the reorganization and refocus of the foundation and the steps that you and the board have taken, it sounds like to me that it would also expand the audience you would have to generate additional revenue.
Absolutely. Now, our group is basically the real estate community. We're a group of realtors volunteering our time. We have title company people and we have mortgage people, but we're all in this real estate industry and we're volunteer organized, but we reach out to different communities, different businesses and industries to help raise that money, which really helps. And we've partnered with some great companies, especially in October. Wheezy's Table is having a promotion for us and with a 3-course meal. It's wonderful. And then Gentry Kelly Cosmetics has a promotion with us. So we are reaching a broader audience, not just within the real estate community, but our heart and soul is the real estate community.
So part of that heart and soul is your annual luncheon.
Yes.
That's coming up on October the 24th. So tell us about that, and I know that our listeners are excited and they want to either support it or attend or both.
Well, I would love for anybody to support or attend. So we're going to be at the Hilton Americas again. We've had the luncheon there for past 4 or 5 years, and it's downtown's beautiful. October 24th, we have a phenomenal guest speaker, Devin Still, and he is a former NFL defensive end. He's an author, and he is a positivity, let me get this straight. He is a positive psychology practitioner, and he's an instructor of this as well, and just a phenomenal speaker. He and his wife also have a podcast, and his message is so powerful about overcoming obstacles. I read his book, Still in the Game, and it gives me chills. All the things that he went through before he even had his daughter, and his daughter went through cancer treatments, and thank goodness has recovered and is in remission. But his journey is just really powerful, and he speaks from his heart and can motivate people in ways that is phenomenal.
How long do the process that you take, because the speakers that you've had have all been very inspirational, but very focused, and all had at some level have been touched most all of us have been touched by cancer or breast cancer at some point, whether it be directly or indirectly. But you really take very measured steps in finding out who your speakers are, determining who you would like to come and speak at the luncheon. It's
a really hard process. It truly is, and we started early. We're starting to talk about who we're going to have for next year. And Peggy Conard is on our board, and she does a fantastic job of getting names of people. And we call and we talk to people. We want somebody who, 1, can be a big draw, and 2, has a powerful message. So it's a very hard process because we do start so early, because we got to lock somebody down in October. And a lot of us don't know what we're going to be doing in October.
Sure.
So, but we have had tremendous luck with some really great speakers.
So our listeners are excited. Can they attend?
Anybody can attend. So you could go to nancyowens.org to find out more information about our luncheon and our upcoming events. Or if you want to volunteer for the foundation, we would love to have you, or would like to be a potential committee person, we would love to have you. There's a button on there to get involved, and it goes straight to me. So I'll be calling you and finding out more.
If I can't make it on the 24th, but I want to support the organization, can I provide a donation online?
Absolutely. There's a nice, nifty little donate button right there on the website.
And what's that website again?
It is nancyowens.org.
So in your spare time, when you're not Madam Chairperson and President of the Nancy Owens Foundation, you also do a little real estate work. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my other full-time job.
Your other full-time job, yes.
Yes, so I have been in the real estate business for 33 plus years and am working over at Bernstein Realty. I specialize inside the loop. I absolutely love it. I love going and talking to people and finding out their wants and needs and placing them in the perfect house.
So if our listener is saying, I like listening to Terry, I love what she's doing in the community, and we've decided that we really want to buy in the Heights, or we're selling our Heights house because we've got to move, how can they get a hold of you so you can help them out?
Well, they can find me at Bernstein Realty, or they can give me a call or a text or an email. I'm always around. So my website is terry@terryguerra.com. Very easy.
And that's Guerra.
Correct.
And what's the phone number?
713-598-3043.
And the website one more time?
It's my website is terryguerra.com.
Fantastic. Well, we really do appreciate you being with us today, and thank you so much for all the work that you and the other members of the Nancy Owens Foundation have been doing for 21 plus years now.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
You're welcome.
If you're a real estate professional, then listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, homebuyers, sellers, and title agents. Their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your business is properly insured. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.
Our next guest is Rick Carrier. Rick is the branch manager for Streamline Loans. Rick, welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We really do appreciate you being here. So I'm going to buy a home. It's time for me to buy a home, whether it be my first home or my fifth home. Why should somebody reach out to Streamline?
One of the great things is that we're a broker, so we actually do shop rates around. So we'll be able to find the best terms available for everybody's situation. We all know that situations for everybody are a little bit different. So we've always got a product or something that can help get clients into the homes.
So you're not tailored to or connected solely to one resource. So a first-time home buyer versus a fifth-time home buyer, somebody with great credit or poor credit, you can help us all out.
Correct.
If I'm a first-time home buyer or it's the fifth home I bought and I'm looking for a place to get my financing, why should I reach out to Streamline Loans?
Well, we're going to have products for everybody, and the speed that we have, we can really close loans in, I would say, probably 2 weeks, as long as we have a client that can help us with documentation. That's usually the biggest holdup. But the communication's great, underwriting's great, and so the banks that we actually work with are great banks, and they take good care of us.
So you have options for a variety of resources. So if my circumstances may be different than Terry's or different than Jesse's, so you would be able to help any of us out based upon whatever our individual circumstances are.
We would, absolutely. And I'm also a credit expert, so I get a lot of clients that will give me a call with a 550 credit score. I'll help them out, give them some instructions, and as long as they follow my instructions, then we'll get them into a home.
So I'm coming to you for some help. So you help me get into a home. What are some of the things that I need to do to prepare before I come and see you?
The big thing is you want to make sure that you have some kind of employment history. You want to be at your new job, I would say, for a couple of months before you try to get into a mortgage. If you just change jobs and you're in the same line of business, then it's usually not a big deal. But if you've changed businesses, or if you changed the type of business or the way that you get paid, then that can be an issue. So then you may have to wait 6 months to a year.
If I'm an entrepreneur, and let's say I have 2 or 3 different companies, can you still help me with financing for a new home?
We can, absolutely.
And so one of the things that's a bit frustrating to me is, and I was curious to ask you this: how do you combat the negative press? Because all we hear about and all we read about is the housing market is dying. The housing market is in such bad shape. Everything's going to heck. But how do you combat that there's still homes out there to buy and there's still opportunities for folks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Really, you just have to take the time to educate people. because they're just believing what they see. So if you actually sit somebody down and show them the numbers, if you have somebody renting, I think the average cost on a 3-bedroom apartment is probably $2,000. You can probably buy a $300,000 home right now at 7% with 7% interest rate. Your payment's probably $2,300 to $2,400. So it may be a tad bit more, but that money's going into your equity. So that's money that you're going to have in savings later.
Well, the other thing that I think sometimes we forget about is, yes, we're paying a bit more in interest rates than we were 18 months ago, but are you seeing those same crazy numbers where people are paying, $20,000 over list or $15,000 over list? Are we seeing that as much anymore?
So that's calmed down a lot. That hasn't been, I haven't come across it in a few months, which is nice. So the fact that the values are still coming, or more obtainable, I should say, the rates are higher, but at the same time, if the rates drop, you can always refinance. So just still look for something you can afford now, and you're not having to overpay on the house now. Your interest rate's just a little bit higher.
So you can still find a home that makes sense for you. You may be paying a bit more in interest, but the base cost of the home is going to be potentially less.
Correct.
So you talked earlier about being able to help folks that maybe have less than the best credit. So what would be some of the points that you would counsel our listeners if they maybe are moving that direction, but they need a little help?
So I think the biggest thing is whenever you're looking at your credit report, if you have collections, say you went through a hard time and you had collections, especially from a credit card, 9 times out of 10, those are going to need to be paid, even if they're 4 years old, just because they're always going to show up as an open credit card, even if they're in collection. So that's always going to drive the score down. So typically you can call and settle with them for maybe 60% of what you owe, and then it just goes away and your credit will automatically start going up. So that's one of the big things that I guess when you're working with credit repair, they always tell you not to do that. But in fact, if you actually do that as long as it's a credit card, it'll make a big difference.
So part of it is acknowledging the situation and then working with whomever you have that debt, and more often than not that they'll find a way to work with you.
Correct.
What other things would you counsel our listeners on if they're trying to improve their credit?
You want to have at least 3 open trade lines. Usually 2 credit cards and maybe a loan. Those are going to be really, really important. If you don't have at least 3 open trade lines, then you're not going to have a score at all. Especially if you've gone through a hard time and all your stuff is older. So you've really got to start to reestablish yourself, and you really don't even need to use the credit cards. Just maybe make one purchase on it, pay it off, and you'll start to see your score jump up.
So it's a process. And
it is.
And if our listeners follow that process, they can get to where they want to be as far as the ability to come in and purchase a home fairly quickly.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
What would you recommend be a base credit score to move into when you would maybe then it's the right time to begin talking with you about buying a home?
So I would say as long as you're at 620, there's good options for you. There's not going to be a bunch of overlays, and so we can go FHA all day long. I mean, you can really do it at 580, but there's such a credit, or not a credit difference, but there's such a rate difference between a 580 and a 620 that you're going to end up paying points that you wouldn't have to if you just spent that time to try to get up to a 620.
So again, follow that process that you'll lay out for our listeners so that when they get to that 620, then they truly have some options to work through.
Correct. Yep.
You had also mentioned earlier about the benefits of home ownership versus renting, that if somebody's in a 3-bedroom young family and they're spending $2,000 or more a month on rent, and then they could turn that into equity. What are some of the other benefits that you see from home ownership versus somebody renting an apartment or renting a home?
Well, so whenever you rent, obviously you're paying somebody else's mortgage for them, right? Unless it's an apartment, and even then you're not going to get anything back from that. So by owning, you're actually building equity. So if you're looking at, I would say, over 5 years on a $300,000 home, let's say like $18,000 in equity that you'd have in that 5 years. And that's just if the home never appreciated at all. So if you're looking at 3% on top of that every year, then obviously your savings and your equity is going to grow a lot faster.
So if somebody's renting and they've been vacillating back and forth about whether they should buy or not, is it at least worth reaching out to you and having that discussion so you can at least lay out for them the pros and cons?
Absolutely. And I'd even be able to do like a soft pull on the credit, give them some credit instructions so that I can prepare them for the whole transaction.
One of the things that we're reading about a lot now are these ideas of the 2-for-1 buy downs. Those are kind of starting to come back. So if you kind of give us an idea of what a 2-for-1 buy down is and why it's relevant.
Well, it's great right now just because, example, like today's rates are 7%. So you can do what's called a seller buy down, and it's where the seller will actually contribute that money to buy down the rate for you, but it's usually for 2 years. So, for example, if it's a 2-1 buy down and rates are at 7, your first year is going to be at 5%. Then your second year would be at 6%, and then the third year goes back to the 7. So you'll actually end up saving money. You're basically prepaying that interest. The seller is for you. So that kind of helps save you some money for that short period of time.
And how do you go about obtaining a program like that? Is that something that they work with you with, or is that something they would work with their realtor on, or is it a combination?
So it'd be a combination. The realtor would add that in the contract, and then the verbiage for it as far as the seller paying for that cost, and then from there, that's something that we would take over and do.
So we're visiting with Rick Carrier with Streamline Loans. Rick, if one of our listeners is saying, I like what you're saying, I need some guidance, I need some help, or hey, I'm ready to go, how can they get a hold of you to talk to you about financing their next home purchase?
Well, you got to Google me, Rick Carrier, or actually just go to my website, rickcarrier.com, or you can give me a call at 281-767-6700.
What's that number again?
281-767-6700.
We've been visiting with Rick Carrier with Streamline Homes. Thank you so much for being part of Real Estate Matters.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
In today's litigious society, it is imperative to have the proper insurance to offset the many risks facing your business, especially if you're a real estate broker. Your errors and omissions and cyber liability insurance can help limit the threat of these risks if you know what to look for. Not sure if your insurance addresses the risks facing your business? Contact Stewart Insurance to be confident your brokerage can withstand these risks. Stewart Insurance, 866-798-2827, stewartinsurance.com. That's stewartinsurance.com, or call 866-798-2827.
Our next guest is Chuck Poteet. Chuck is the broker owner of PRG Realtors. Welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Hey, thank you very much. Glad to be here. Real estate's amazing. Started off back in 1984, and it's seen a lot of things happen in real estate since then. And I think my first house I closed, and actually our personal home was with Stewart Title. So we got to give a little plug in here for you guys right now. So,
absolutely. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. So what was the catalyst about, I know that you, like you said, started in 1984. You've had a variety of stops along the way, but what was the catalyst about starting PRG?
Okay, I had the opportunity this year to transition from a national franchise to and the opportunity to start PRG, and so that gave me a chance to actually step back from my career, having had another independent brokerage, and having been with other franchises over the years and some other independents, to go, what is it realtors really need today? What do agents really need? And so this was an opportunity that on the beginning kind of looked like, oh, this is going to be a lot of work, but then it became a passion. And so then we started working on, as far as a brand, we go, hey, we're not just going to be just another brokerage. We're going to be a brand that agents are going to be proud of, that they're going to be able to see themselves working there. They're going to be able to have a brokerage that will meet their needs. And so that was how we came up with Professional Realty Guides. And so there's a lot of teams and groups and different brokerages out there, but we felt like that by giving them the title at the beginning to set the bar a little higher at the front end as a professional realty guide, and then calling them pro guides, that we were actually setting the tone for the brokerage and the agents.
So in that process of creating your brand and developing these professional realty guides, was the thought process that you were moving from a transaction into a real relationship?
Absolutely. Right now there are 1.7 million realtors from New York to Hawaii. And there's another million agents, or another million in licensing schools. And so thinking about the mass numbers, even within our own city, agents have a problem. They have a lot of competition, and if they're going to thrive and survive in this industry, they need to keep learning. They need to keep growing themselves. And so we wanted to tailor PRG around helping take them where they needed to go.
So we're visiting with Chuck Poteet, the broker owner of PRG Realtor. So your why when you built this was, I'm asking the question, your why was a place for realtors now, pro guides.
That's right.
To be successful.
That's right.
And what are the things that they need to be successful, and you're going to provide that for them?
So, John, what I call the enemies of an agent's success.
Okay.
There are three things. One, national economy, which we have no control over. Who would have ever come up with COVID? Some
Sure.
of the other things, hurricanes. I date myself. We go back to, stock markets and everything else that can happen in our national economy. The second, really, the industry itself is their second challenge, or their second enemy. And that's because with this 1 million other realtors, that's part of an industry problem. Plus, we've had a lot of iBuyers that are out there that are actually getting to the customers before they ever do. So anybody that's ever sold their home or didn't involve a realtor in that transaction, that took them out of the deal. And so currently, I think we have about 800,000 total homes on the market nationwide. So when we do the math, they got a challenge. The third one is really what I call just sort of the brokerages. In many ways, for some agents, that is not necessarily an enemy, but it's a challenge for them to figure out where they need to be to grow and groom and build their future career. And there's all types of models, and there's wonderful brokerages, but they got to find the right fit for them. And so there's these multiple companies that are out there, and they've got to look for that one that is going to elevate them and take them to that next level, and so they can build their career.
So on the website, on PRG's website, you talk about this idea of elevating the experience and the concierge experience.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about what that in the pro guides world, in your world, what that means.
Okay. So we coined a phrase, everybody deserves a guide. And we're pro guides for buyers, sellers, and agents. So some agents may go, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sure I need a guide. I'm already good, or I'm already great. It's because we also say we help agents go good to great. And the reason is, hey, I've been doing this 38 years, almost 4 decades, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I tell everybody I've made thousands of mistakes, and I'll make thousands more. And I'm just trying to help agents, teams, and brokers that are with us not to make those same mistakes. I can streamline some of the process, and they're growing and learning, and that's what we're doing. So we have a lot of systems and processes and things and checklists that help them to be able to not spend months and years going through the same experiences. I've already got it. I've already put it in a package for them that they can learn. We just finished a 5-part series taking agents through what we started off contracts. I started off with contracts. Why? Because that's going to be the glue that's going to get them paid. Mm-hmm. And if they can't put it together and structure it right, because I've had agents come from a lot of different companies, and they still can't even get it on paper correctly. So, it's like, I want to start and make sure you at least know how to do it. And then the next part is, the next session was on marketing, because a lot of agents are still closet agents. They're like, hey, I got this license, but they're not telling anybody. They're not getting out there. They're not marketing themselves. So they really need to get out there and make themselves known, or they're not going to survive. I mean, 87% of realtors fail within the first 5 years. That's what I'm going after to try to help them. I don't want them to be a statistic. I want to help them to advance. The next part was actually learning how to work with sellers. You know, I really have 3 customers. I've got agents, I've got buyers, and I got sellers. I should say our agents have buyers and they got sellers. So we tell sellers our main goal is to help them sell their home for top dollar with the least amount of hassles. So I've got some unique selling processes for sellers to help them get that top dollar and with the least amount of hassles. Then we got buyers. That's our other customer. You know, we want to help them find the perfect home for the right price. That is also resellable. Why do I say resellable? Because for the most part, most people don't realize the day they purchase a home, if they closed it on Friday, they got to sell it on Monday. It's got to appreciate 15% just to break even. So if they're going to break even, then there's got to be some advanced appreciation going on. So we take them through that. So we teach them on the selling process on how to implement that, how to work with the buyers to help them find the perfect home. A lot of that experience came because I started off mainly doing relocation, and a lot of people, they're just say, "Hey, Chuck, I'm here for 1 to 2 years, and we got to sell." Well, we didn't get to pick what the economy looked like in a year to 2 years later. And so how can we hedge those buyers into a better position? And then my last part of the session, and we'll be starting all these series over again and it's ongoing for us, was leadership. You know, I found that a lot of agents don't see themselves as leaders. They once they've got that license, they're not continuing to grow. And if a leader doesn't grow, their business is not going to grow. Every agent's an independent agent, independent contractor. And I always challenge them to think about next time they drive by a strip shopping center, see their name on that sign and think of themselves, that's their business. So they've got to have a plan in place for them to grow their business. And if they don't grow first, they're not going to grow their business. So we want to help them grow themselves in every kind of way.
So we've seen, I guess, in the last several years, pivot after pivot after pivot after pivot. I mean, we were pre-pandemic, and we were doing business one way, and then COVID hit, and we pivoted, and we're doing business a different way, and then we kind of started to get out of COVID, and we pivoted a different way. Now we have interest rates that have gone up. So you talked about the second 2 levels of your audiences, the buyers and the sellers. So how are your pro guides? How are your pro guides helping buyers and sellers? What are they telling them different now than they may have told them 12 months ago?
Yeah. So starting back at 84, we've come a long ways, and we've already been through these cycles. The worst thing any of them can do is panic. To me, my first house was 16%. So I'm not worried about where we are in the way of interest rates. We'll make it. We'll be okay. But statistically, and mortgage people would agree, if they do a graph from the 50s all the way to today, I promise you, the same house price was not the same back there. It's always going to be increasing. So if they've got a need to get in the marketplace, they need to get in the marketplace because we don't have this crystal ball to know what the economy is going to look like next year. And if they're sitting on the fence going, oh, but what if it it goes higher or drops or whatever, then that is very, very possible. Get with their lender, figure out what's going to be best for them. Determine if this is a 3-year house, 7-year house, or this is the house their kids are going off to college in. They just need to find out the timing their own and then get the mortgage that's going to match them. But don't let this slow them down. On the selling side, hey, they just missed the ride.
Yeah.
But guess what? There are still people gonna be in our marketplace. If you need to sell that house, you need to get it ready and get it prepared and get it on the market. We have seasons. You may not get the top dollar that you were looking for in the fall and winter market. If you want to stretch it out till spring, then go for it. But if you really are trying to move up and you want to get a better house, find that buyer right now so you can get in this marketplace right now and get it sold.
So it's just a matter of work when you're working with your clients up front. It's a matter of setting expectations.
Absolutely.
If you're buying this is what you should expect.
Yes.
And these are the steps you need to go through. If somebody's selling, based on today's market, these are the steps you need to do, and these are what your expectations ought to be.
Yes.
So if we're visiting with Chuck Poteet with PRG Realtors, so if there's a realtor out there that says, I like this idea of somebody helping me succeed and focusing on my business. So if they would like to talk to you about joining your firm, or if we have a listener out there that's buying or selling a home that would like your assistance, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay. PRGrealtors.com, or PRGTexas.com. Either one. Cell number 713-304-5420. I'll take your call. I will answer it.
Can you give us a phone number one more time?
713-304-5420. And, I know that, for the most part, a lot of people say realtors don't return calls. That's in one of my classes. Realtors, please return your call.
Fantastic. We've been visiting with Chuck Poteet with PRG Realtors. Thank you, Chuck. We appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Stewart Title.
Well, thank you all for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. A big thanks to our guests, Jesse Burton, Terry Guerra, Rick Carrier, and Chuck Poteet. To hear this show or past shows, visit stewart.com/radio or download the iHeartMedia app. To be properly insured, contact Stewart Insurance at 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. Or visit us online at stewartinsurance.com. For our producer, Will Melbourne, I'm John Bramblett with Stewart Insurance. Thank you for listening to Real Estate Matters. Until next time, continued success.
If you're a real estate professional, then listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, homebuyers, sellers, and title agents. Their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your business is properly insured. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.